Hey RATBAGGERS, it's Jade today with a big mistakes video, or advanced tips, whatever you want to call it. It's giving you rundowns on some of the systems that you may have been neglecting. I've got stats about trinkets, resources and how to get the most of them, especially getting you prepared for incoming updates. Plus 10 community tips that you guys gave me in my Discord as part of a competition. Covering lots of things including combat, mutations and a lot more. Find this video useful, leave a like, come and join my Discord to give me your tips or leave them in the comment section down below. Let's go. Something so many people kind of forget because it's a bit of a hassle doing at first, but make sure you do get the drying racks up and running. You will save so many chunks, especially when it comes to the lingonberry and the blueberries of course, and it's going to be useful for making dried foods. Now they will help trickle regen and it doesn't mean you have to worry about them going off. But yeah, it's a basic tip from Grounded 1 and it's still the same for number 2. Make sure you're utilising your jerky racks. You will get 1-for-1 ratio whenever you're trying to make dried leather out of the berries, instead of having to use 3 of them to craft 1 when you do it at the crafting station. Don't stop collecting materials you'll need for upgrade rocks for your armour and your weapons, especially the weapons. Sap is a massive part of this, so make sure you've got a good amount of collectors near your base, or if your base is kind of nowhere near something like a route, then make sure you've got enough that you can go and get loads all in one go. If you hadn't worked it out yet, returning feature from Grounded 1 is you can find a special recipe with some of the data discs that allow you to craft actually upgrade rocks instead of only finding them. Once you go ahead and return and scan the optical discs, you'll then be able to buy the recipe for it with raw science. If you want more weapon upgrade rocks, go and find the data disc inside the ice cream cart. If you want more armor upgrades, go and find the one inside the spider den in the north. It is a better thing in Grounded 2 that the rocks do respawn, so it shouldn't be as much of a problem. But to make your own upgrade rocks, you need tons of sap, you'll need lots of larvae spikes, and you'll need lots of grubs. So it is one of them things with the larvae, they get so annoying I tend to just run away from them because I can't be bothered and they don't really drop anything more useful. But of course that's the useful item, it's their little spikes. In the future it looks like it'll be the same kind of method for certain other bugs. In Grounded 1 it was black ox beetles as well as wolf spider fangs that you needed to make more advanced upgrade rocks. We're not too sure what exactly it will be in the future for Grounded 2, so I wouldn't necessarily go and try farming wolf spiders at the moment. But yeah, dig up grubs, kill larvae and collect sap. And I wouldn't stop picking up some just because you max upgraded your weapons now. They are going to be adding new ones, and so it's always good to have a good supply. So yeah, either forage for them or craft them yourself. And very related, don't stop candies either. You'll need them to go ahead and upgrade your gear to the next set of levels, or at least craft new weapons. We're not totally sure if it is going to be the same method that we've seen in the past. Previously in Grounded 1, you'd apply candies like spicy, fresh, sour or salt. I know they're not candy, but bear with me, and that would give you that element damage on that weapon. The recipe isn't there in Grounded 2 at the moment, and players are unhappy that they can only craft one of 2 special weapons, the icicles or the katana, since you can only find a couple of the ingots needed inside hidden chests. Check out some of my previous videos, more details on that. I think we will see the ability to go and customise your weapons with whatever kind of element you want. And again, to make sure you've got plenty of resources, it's worth stocking up still on the spicy candies and the fresh ones. We don't know what's going on with sour. I know you can see them scattered all around. It looks like that's going to be coming next year in another update. They're going to be reworking maybe the damage type it does. So yes, you may have boxes of spicy chachars and fresh mints right now, but I wouldn't stop maybe collecting them if you come across any. Again, you'll be surprised how many you'll need if you really want to try out different weapon combinations with different elements in the future. Shout out to some of the data miners, Rift Edge for this one, but candies have a chance of spawning every 48 hours, the ones that you dig up. It's only a 50% chance, so sometimes they'll be there, sometimes they won't, hence why when you're looking at the scanner at the moment it seems pretty busted, and I'm sure it is. It shows candy locations, but there's nothing there. Another rule is that players meant to be over 1,000 units away. And that's something to bear in mind. The other candies that you find on the surface that you don't have to dig up, they actually take 3 days to go ahead and respawn. But again, only if a player isn't there. There's a special little tunnel filled with some of the spicy chachars in a cavern underneath the backpack. If you built your base right on top of there and you're around your base a lot, you might actually not be able to spawn them, hence why you haven't seen any more in that cavern. Chests are a little bit different. They also take 48 hours to spawn. You'll get a 50% chance of a chest being at that same location, and they're always in the same locations. But for the chests, you don't have to worry. Even if your base is super close to some, it won't stop them from spawning. So it's only the diggable candies and the candies you find on the surface. I was going to do a guide on this, but there's lots of problems. Some of the chests aren't actually giving you the loot, and then you've got to save and reload, and then it actually changes the position, or some of them if they're ready or not. Some of the candies, as I said, are shown on the map, but they're not actually there. And again, that could be to me being too close with my base. And yeah, I was going to do a guide showing all the locations of the buried treasures and candies. But to be honest, there are just so many, it's maybe not worth it. What you can do though is put a trail marker down like I've done on my map. Make sure you're scanning for crow, fresh, spicy or chocolate, and that will guarantee you usually that a chest will have some of them resources. If you scan all 4 of them, the likelihood is it's going to be a chest. And yeah, just place some trail markers close by, and then that way you know to go back to it if you want to do a run or a circuit. Chests don't always have the best loot, but they do have occasional meals in them, and they can be really super useful to stock up on rather than you having to go and get resources to craft. Not to mention gum and yes, the crow feathers. And in general, don't hunt for this stuff at night time, as it doesn't actually twinkle at night. You can still find it for sure if you know exactly where the location is. As long as you're not on your mount, you'll be able to dig it up. But otherwise, daytime's the best chance of finding hidden buried loot. Blueberry chunks are super important. Obviously, you'll find a big grove of trees all the way to the southeast of the ice cream cart, plus a few on the picnic table and even under the ice cream cart itself. Obviously, if you go to the tree grove, it's part of the quest line, early ones, and you will have to take care of some orb bees. But remember that you can come back here every 3 days, I do believe, to get more. It's used for so much, but one of the early game ones is healing bandages. When you look at the stats, regular bandages heal you for 50 over the course of 5 seconds. Blueberry ones heal you for 70, not a massive increase, but a good enough. Eventually, once you get to Ligonberry, they also heal you for 90 over 9 seconds. But blueberries are relatively easy to get hold of. Once you know the best location to go and pick them up. And of course, stocking up on the chocolate chips is important because they're going to help you get much bigger and better healing smoothies when you use them instead of grub gloop. They've replaced the mussel sprouts, which I'm sure you guys have realised by now, but Hedgelord is pretty OP. You need to use that one as it gives you pretty much the same benefits as a smoothie, but a bandage in one. It heals you over time and it will give you a much bigger chunk of health. But unlike bandages, it won't stop just because you get hit. You will have to build up a big supply of aphid honeydew and mite fuzz, but that shouldn't relatively be hard, especially with the aphids being in such abundance and the mites too. But for sure, if you're going to concentrate on one particular item to heal you, then this is it. Lady in Red's another great one, of course, giving you extra max health, but the parts needed for that are a little bit more. So until you get to that stage, make sure you're picking up plenty of chocolate and the blueberry chunks. So the last one under resources section, I guess, as well as future proofing. Try and grab as many charcoal pieces as you can every time you go past. Sizzle does a lot more damage, it seems, in Grounded 2, so you really will need the full gear to maybe last and get some of these. If you're not a big fan of the mage gear, you might want to just leave a set and the rest of the materials in a chest nearby, so they can go in without hopefully roasting to death. We're presuming we're going to need them again to make the ovens to craft our own globs, since we have come across some globs in the secret chest to make the Cortana and the icicles. And it's a pretty vital resource when it comes to making cement walls, which were in Grounded 1. Now, there's no confirmation they'll be back for Grounded 2, and I definitely want them to have some improvements in terms of the visuals, making them just really smooth without any kind of other stuff. The cement walls in Grounded 1 had weed stems going across them, and I would actually just prefer a nice clean look to them, especially for floor pieces. But yeah, it's certainly worth stocking up at least so you can craft at least a good maybe 5 ovens. Probably 4 pieces a pop. So 20 pieces should absolutely get you started, and maybe just stock up, like I said, every time you go past with that chest of the armor you need and stuff to survive. Some of you guys had a theory that we might use some of the ash grass, and that might be another way to get some of the stuff we need. That's a pretty cool idea. Of course, at the moment, it just disintegrates into nothing when you hit them. And yes, you're going to need charcoal pieces as well as spicy candy to repair your Cortana and your Evercold torch. Pretty sure the charcoal used to take at least 4 to 5 days to respawn back in Grounded 1, so if that's pretty similar and there's a less amount in Grounded 2, you definitely want to keep an eye on them. Now I'm guessing you're using your smoothie station, of course, since I spoke about so many of the ingredients for it, and of course your cookery. But I ain't gonna lie, there's been lots of times I've kind of ignored a lot of the meals, especially that you get from the cookery station. What I normally say is build up a big supply of bug parts before you start investing in the meals. Till then, grub meat as well as some of the weevil meat will give you more healing than the aphid or the actual gnats. The basic recipes though for the cookery are pretty good in giving you extra attack damage and hyper stamina, but never craft more than you need. Previously the glitch used to be that you could leave meals in there and they wouldn't actually degrade over time, so that still might work. To be honest, I haven't fully checked it. But until you get the fridge cooler, which you can unlock by completing the ice cream cart, it's probably worth just making a meal once a day or twice a day, and then that's it. One for exact use that you're going to need to take on a boss or challenging area, and another one just to keep you going while you explore. Smoothies of course are really useful, especially for exploring them dangerous areas like the campfire or the ice cream cart. That's when you really want to use your gum to make them last longer, but otherwise I still think chocolate is the way to go for so many of the other ones too. Because you'll end up just going through maybe twice as many smoothies rather than using the one that gives you more health, because you are going to need it if you're fighting against some of the toughest creatures. Is it worth trying to farm for trinkets? For sure, some of them, but maybe don't go too much effort in getting the candy ones. Both the fresh and spicy do flat elemental damage, which is good for creatures weak to it, but not so good for others. They are meant to have a 2% chance of dropping out of 100 though. So since you're already farming up candies for other purposes, I wouldn't necessarily go out your way just to get the trinkets though if you've got plenty. Some of the bug trinkets definitely worth going ahead and trying to farm. If you complete the mixer, the orc ones might seem pretty useless, but as they're relatively easy to craft once you hit the right brain level, I still think they're going to be really good for future use of course. We of course are going to see more orc creatures come, I'm sure, to the rest of the park. Nullified you'll use early game to stop them orc attacks from doing too much damage, and the capacitator with the pinch whacker absolutely goes hard. The mixer is a one-time event you'll find on the skateboard in the northeast of the park, and obviously I should mention it just in case you haven't come across it yet, since I've spoken about it a few times now. But yeah, once you complete this, you'll stop all orc attacks. I do believe though you can only go and start it once you've taken down some of the main receiver quest lines. I know lots of people have been building lots of base defences, you might as well do that for sure, but with the right trinket like the capacitator, you've got a great chance of completing the mixer without having to worry about defences. The stabby stinger, I think it's worth trying to farm up for sure, giving that extra venom damage for your venom kind of rogue builds, or even just on its own, because any weapon can take advantage of it, even if you're not using any of the actual rogue armour. But it is a bit short to actually go through the ticks, meaning by the time it's done any fair damage, you've probably killed the creature already. The mantis trinket is kind of weak sauce. It's meant to have a chance of doing extra bonus damage, but only with two-handed weapons. Maybe for like big boss-like creatures or mini bosses it could be worth it, but by the time you use this on smaller ones, you'll have killed them anyway with just regular strikes. You don't need the extra critical. Shivering Scale could be good, but it doesn't add enough cold damage, especially again for lots of different types of bugs with low health, and even tankier ones it struggles to really, I think, make a massive impact. It can slow them down a little bit, sure, but the fact you have to use the charge attack as well, really not as good for certain creatures. But for me, the blistering boiler is the best one to go and farm by killing bombardier beetles. Each third hit in a combo does sizzling damage. So I know that's only one particular type, but at the moment there's so many spiders in the game, they are really weak to spicy damage. The stabby stinger, the cleaving claw, the shivering scale and the blistering boiler all have a 4% chance of dropping. It does look like some of these stats may be a bit skewed, as I know some people are having problems really getting this. So make sure you do the following. Rub your bugs, the stuffed ones at least. So this example, make sure you craft the bombardier beetle stuffed bug, as it gives you a 15% boost and buff to get the trinket, as well as some more resources from bugs that sometimes are a bit rarer. Craft the bombardier beetle trophy and you get that extra damage against them as well, so it's always a good way to go and farm them. I'll admit that's a pretty obvious one, especially for older grounded players, but you'd be surprised how many times you'll go out on an adventure and forget to rob. Cough cough. You'll get a cockroach queen's head as a trinket if you defeat General Berserker as part of the end game. It's a guaranteed drop as long as you aren't full. I find this kind of weak sauce as well though, as it only does extra damage pretty much when you're close to death. Maybe more good yet for Berserker style builds where you just don't really care about blocking and you're trying to finish off a creature super quick. Absolutely amazing trinket that I wish I'd got in Grounded 1. 1200 hours of playing, never picked up the everlasting hog stopper. It is in G2, you need to go ahead and obviously go try getting lots of hot dogs. However, it's only a 1% chance of dropping from them. You've got better chance from killing cockroach queens. You've got a 3% chance of them dropping and seems pretty reliable. Obviously it replenishes your food anytime it gets low, so always have it in my inventory and it just replaces pretty much food in general unless I'm going for a particular battle and I want some of the extra buffs. And Dandelion Trinket is good, but I think with the mounts now and the glitch or cheese that you can jump off your saddle if you're falling from a great height just before landing, thus dealing less damage, it's maybe not as needed, so I wouldn't necessarily go out your way to farm 200 of the Dandelion stalks. It is meant to have a 4% chance of dropping though. Fletching that you get from harvesting crow feathers is obviously pretty good. That's a 4% chance of dropping. Quicker charge shots is great, but shame it only works for bows and not any of the staves. That's just my hot take and opinions. You guys disagree, but definitely I wouldn't waste too much time on some of them. And yes, if you'd seen my previous video talking about the speed trinket, it doesn't look like it's meant to be in the game. I've had enough comments from you guys to suggest it is some sort of bug and people are getting it naturally, but it's like literally 1 in 1,000 chance maybe. The devs have said it is a bug, it's not meant to be obtainable. So leave them poor aphids alone. You don't need to run faster, you got your buggies now. Some mutations obviously are going to be something you'll be working on since you're waiting for new content, killing lots of creatures and obviously getting the maximum kind of ability you can. A couple of them, it's worth pointing out that you're not going to be able to get their full benefits until following updates. Again, pretty obvious if you've checked out some of the wiki or some of the data, but things like Trapper Peeper, you can't actually get the second level. It will give you more chance of getting critical hits with yoke blows, but technically there's only 49 creatures in early access as of the 19th of August. So if you see this video after and they've increased it, great, you can now get it. But for a while, it looks like you're only going to be able to get level 1 with 25 gold cards, not the level 2 that increases it. So sure, go ahead and farm bugs if you really want to try and get all the gold cards, but I still think you're probably worth just waiting and doing it a bit more naturally, unless you really are bored, as there's going to be more bugs added all over the backyard, and hopefully keep things fresh when you do find one. Same thing goes for Natural Explorer. There's only actually 20 points of interest in the game right now, so you can only get up to level 1. So don't keep running around trying to find more. You can always double check, of course, and again it's something pretty obvious, but again you'll be surprised how many people sometimes miss out. This will help you find all the locations to at least get level 1 if you really want it. And yes, the crow is one of them cards that you need to go and peep. You just got to get really close to it. Also bear in mind, some of these mutations you can get by riding your buggy. So things like Cardio Fan, it does actually tick. If your buggy runs out of stamina, that will count towards your goal. Pretty sure Ambush should work as well as things like Parry Master too. And with Guard Dog, yes, you probably realise there's only 2 opportunities to pick this up. Don't bother trying to search for another one. You've got the one that you get via the mixer, and then the other one that you get via trying to get the icicles inside the obviously ice cream car. Speaking of the other mutations, of course, the brand new archetype system is pretty key to succeeding in Grounded 2. Everything's meant to be more streamlined to make it easier for you to really build a great build that applies things like venom damage or critical hit damage, or making the most out of the fighter builds or the ranger builds. So that much is pretty obvious, and you've probably worked out how to maybe blend some of these pieces. But right now Rogue is a little bit overpowered, and a lot of the game pieces in the game like armors, weapons and more really do cater to that type of playstyle right now. Hoping to see improvements to ranged and mage especially in the future. But with the right trinket, the right armor, food, smoothie and weapon, you can literally double, triple the effects of certain things. There's far better people than me like CD Dinky you should check out for the ultimate builds. Something some players may not want to lean into as much, but now the system's a lot simpler to recognise, I think you really should take the time. And don't forget about them temporary buffs you can get from food and smoothies, as they really go a long way to helping some of these builds. Haven't peeped all the individual alt creatures or maybe some of the later game unique ones? Don't panic, they actually don't give you special cards, only some of the alt variants. But anything named, you've not missed out, so don't worry about completing your card collection. That said, any orc creatures that you have missed, and maybe you've done the mixer, which then stops them from coming and attacking you again, you will get another chance. They're going to have more orc creatures all throughout the rest of the game. This was just maybe to stop off chapter 1 and give players a chance to stop effectively defense attacks as they play. I'm pretty convinced we're going to see the same sort of thing for chapter 2 and new areas that get opened up in Grounded's early access. So don't go ahead, and that's the mistake, reloading a save, as you will get another chance. If you've been pretty lax on peeping creatures though, and you do go ahead and peep some of these, they will just turn up as their orc variants without a special name. Of course, peeping creatures does have massive benefits. You get to work out their weaknesses and obviously some of their strengths and resistances. Especially with weak points, it's something overlooked because sometimes it feels like you can't get to some of them, especially things like ladybugs. But other creatures like scorpions, it's really easy to hit their tail. Of course, you only find this out by peeping them. You can also peep a dead body, so at least you'll know for next time. It's why it's so important that you really craft and carry at least one weapon type of each. You basically always want to have on you at least one slashing weapon, one stabbing weapon, and one smashing. And even more so once it gets to the point where you'll be able to unlock more of the elemental types to put on weapons, it becomes even more important to peep creatures, as their weaknesses to elements are sometimes bigger than their actual weaknesses to damage types. So it becomes more important to use an elemental damage against them rather than actually whatever weapon damage it is. I mentioned not maybe finishing the mixer until you're really ready and got enough resources, but there's other reasons too. You only get 4,000 raw science, it will remove the orc creatures, so you'll be missing out on crafting lots of the special arrows, bombs and the defense traps. And something players are really trying hard to do is destroy snail shells. You can do it with 4 explosions from the orc weevils. So some cunning players have used, which I swear was my idea first, to bounce web some of the shells a bit closer to places, congregate them together, and then that way once you get a raid from some of the orc weevils, you can use them to your advantage to blow up the snail shells, as you can upgrade them and that will help repair them, but after that you're going to need more pieces. And yeah, you do come across a lot of the snail pieces inside the burg.l statue in chests, enough to make at least one set of armour and a few repairs, but it will eventually run out. If it's already too late and you've done the mixer, fingers crossed it won't be too long before they appear. Otherwise, yeah, call orcs together like this or head to the picnic table and draw the weevils down to hopefully find a snail nearby. And on the subject of the burg.l statue, for sure, bring enough repair materials. You will run out if you're doing it all in one go through the flower beds, all the way up to the statue and the final encounters. Either that or spare set or one set to get you to the statue, then switch over, making sure you put any excess in your buggy, but your buggy won't be able to follow you. There are a few shortcuts that you'll be able to unlock along the way, but some of them don't open up until you've defeated the bosses. So you found that little laboratory that literally says checkpoint. That should open up when you turn right once you made your way up to reception. So it's worth unlocking this. I didn't. I thought it would just take me to somewhere else. I don't know why. But do that before going anywhere else up the statue. And actually a lot earlier, once you've actually got into the flower bed, when you come into the rose gardens, head left. And you will find another doorway that leads to another shortcut that you'll be able to open up. That will take you back into the main part of the park, although you are very much on the northeast side. There are other shortcuts as well. There's one in the pipe where you actually get in to go into the flower beds. You might have had to go through the route because you couldn't open that door. We can open that door from the other side once you find the shortcut. There's a hatch in the middle of the actual flower garden. You may have gone down it and realised you couldn't use the pneumatic tube. Well, once you've defeated the bosses and the statue, that should unlock, and now you've got the shortcut. It's a shame it doesn't open up a bit sooner than that, as it will just give another way to get back through to that pipe. But it's still worth exploring, making sure you don't forget it, because there is a gold milk molar in there and some other stuff. So yeah, don't forget to unlock and check out these shortcuts. But absolutely bring a pinch whacker if you found it already. Go and check out my guide on that if you need more help. And make sure you equip the static capacitator trinket, as that will absolutely cause carnage with so many of your enemies in here. Won't need as many heals, certainly not granola bars or bandages, as there's plenty of places you'll find them. You'll also get quite a few meals in a lot of the chests, so you maybe don't need to bring as many as you would think, but definitely bring plenty of smoothy still. And for sure, empty out your inventory of your resources before you go into the statue inside your buggy, so you've got plenty of space for anything you do find. I don't want to spoil the final boss fight if you haven't done it just yet, but you may want to bring anything that does extra fresh damage. And maybe some stuff that's resistant against spicy damage. Should go without saying, but you need to take time to learn the attack patterns of certain bugs and creatures, especially the biggest ones like the wolf spider, scorpion and bombardier beetle, ladybug, etc. Mastering perfect parry, just like in the original game, is absolutely OP in Grounded. There are things like a shield that you can get where you don't have to worry about perfect blocking, but it's well worth investing the time and practicing, maybe on smaller creatures first so you don't immediately get killed, or even better, riding your buggy to give you that extra kind of expectation of what bugs are going to do against you. It's always better to jump off your buggy and let them fight against bugs alongside you, but definitely for sure it's still worth using them to literally just defend against things just to get used to it. And by building up your perfect parry on smaller creatures, you'll get an extra window when you use the mutation of perfect parry, and that'll help you take on the bigger ones. Basically, Parry Master gives you some refunded stamina when you pull off a perfect parry. You don't take any damage when you use a perfect parry, and it can build up stun in enemies in certain builds or with certain armor and gear. Another tip is to also trigger certain creatures to fight each other. If you get a wolf spider to attack a scorpion, or likewise something else like a ladybug, they will start fighting each other. Cockroaches are probably the easiest to trigger to attack anything you want. Attack a creature next to a cockroach and then just get the cockroach between you and it will go nuts at it. Following on from that great tip, don't forget to also dodge. It's a brand new mechanic for Grounded 2, and I've seen so many players struggle with bombardier beetles, and obviously some of you guys giving me these tips have too. Bombardier beetles and stink bugs can be handled with much easiness once you realise you can just dodge out the way of them. Then pull out your bow and hit them with range attacks. And maybe even more important while dealing with scorpions so you don't get venomed. Their fourth attack, which is their tail attack, can be pretty severe. So while you might perfect block some of the other shots, that's the one that you really want to make sure you perfect parry or dodge out the way backwards. Learning which bugs to go ahead and use parrying or blocking, or which ones to dodge out the way, is pretty crucial in you surviving longer. And last word about buggies. You can utilise the buggies, like I mentioned. Use them to block incoming attacks from bugs, get used to their attack patterns. Use them for their travel. I've seen some people kind of dismiss them. For sure the Orb Weaver needs a little bit maybe love in giving it a bit more of a boost to its damage. But there's just so much the buggies can do. Bit of a glitch at the moment that when you call a buggy, it has got the ability, even when it's downed, to teleport to you. So if you get into a fight and you don't really want to mess around, just run away and then use the whistle command, and your buggy should teleport close enough to you, and then you can just revive it. And that's a big thing you got to utilise more often, is the whistle. Obviously use your Orb Weaver as much as you can, although it does get you into trouble running over smaller creatures and maybe aggroing others sometimes. And whenever you need to go into a cave, just make sure you whistle again and call your ant to go ahead and chomp through roots or just help you out. Don't forget also, while riding your soldier ant, you don't actually get attacked by other ants as long as you don't pick up any eggs. But you can grab an egg just by pressing the F button on keyboard. I think it's the triangle button or the Y button on controller. Doing so allows you to get eggs super easy and quick if you want more ant soldiers. And honestly, I've got to say it's probably not worth necessarily getting more than one of each bug. Obviously, unless you're playing on woe mode where your bugs will die. Unless you're letting them get knocked out every 2 seconds, you should be able to just rotate between an Orb Weaver and your ant soldier. Like, I wouldn't go mad then getting more than just one. And at the moment, I don't know if there's a way to actually dismiss them or get rid of them. So you may want to keep some space for when they do add some more. And yeah, bugs do help you with the mutations, as I explained. They've been pretty useful for all sorts of duplication glitches, so you may want to take advantage of that before it's patched. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to do some more detailed guides for sure on certain builds, although I'm not the expert on combat. There's definitely some that I think are just my favourite to mess around with. And I'm going to start doing ultimate guides now to some of the locations. Now things have settled down and I've learned a lot more, I'm going to show you the easiest, best, fastest way to take on some places, especially if you're starting a new game. Got a big shout out to all the people that gave me tips, including the others that didn't make the top 10. As I said, come and join Discord if you've got any tips you want to share. or just leave them in the comment section down below. Until next time, Ratbags, I'll catch you later.